And today we are talking to Cynthia Mumbo, who was named as the only African in the top 40 under 40 sports leaders in the world. Now, it's a list of 40 people, and you take a look at that list, you'll be amazed by the people that are on the list, and only one person from Africa made it. And who are we talking about? Cynthia Mumbo. She's the CEO and founder of Sports Connect Africa, and luckily enough today, she's with us here in studio. Once again, Cynthia, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good to have you here. And I'm still, trying to figure out how it feels when you're named alongside the CEO of NBC Sports, the CEOs of Formula One, the CEOs of some of the biggest basketball teams we have in the world, the CEOs of some of the biggest NFL teams we have in the world. How does it feel?
It feels like Africa has won.
Africa has won.
Yeah, it feels amazing.
It feels amazing.
Yeah.
Most of the time we met on the field, and you've been dealing with basketball, having the Vikapu Elite Camp. But where did you start?
So I always share the story. I've been very lucky. When I was younger, I was influenced by one Benjamin Ayimba. He used to make me run when I was a kid, and I'd always win.
Yes.
And he'd give me his medals. And I learned, the beauty of winning when I was very, very, very young. And that kind of propelled me into sports. So I went into high school. I was always either in the basketball team or a sprint team or, somewhere where there was some sport happening. After a couple of years, I joined NSSF basketball team. I played for, so if I talk about the number of teams I've played for, you'd look at me like, wow, are you 50?
Talk about them.
So I played for NSSF, I played for USIU, I played for Kenyatta University, played for Sprite Storms, and then moved on to, as an intern, I moved on to my first job at Firestone then, Samira Africa now. And we started a basketball team there with a good friend of mine, Stella Opondo. And that kind of, got me thinking. I remember at some point there was so much noise around basketball. Why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? So I told the guys, okay, guys, I don't understand why you're making noise. These are the solutions. And that kind of put me into the space of sports management. So I was co-opted into the Kenya Basketball Federation Executive Committee.
Yes.
I was 25.
At that moment?
Yes.
At that time, rather?
Yes, at that time. And that catapulted me into sports management. So I managed the national team at the All Africa Games. I was 26 at that time. And I moved on from Firestone, got into EABL. And while I was there, I really thought about what more can I do from a sports management perspective. So I registered the company Sports Connect Africa, and basically that has been my journey. I'm very passionate about Africa and us being able to create local solutions for sports and sports management and sports business and sports marketing. I don't think that the solutions can come from anywhere else. And so that's why Sports Connect Africa was born.
That's how Sports Connect Africa was born.
Yeah.
Now, the journey for Sports Connect Africa, first of all, Sports Connect Africa, is it only about, taking a look at what is, nurturing people in basketball?
No. Or
is it, every other discipline?
So it's every other aspect. Basketball is only what I love. So yes. We are a consulting firm, so we find solutions for sports problems. So currently we run basketball operations for the NBA, and that means everything that is required to manage the league. So we, bring the teams together. We run their on-ground bit of marketing in terms of eventing as well. So we find solutions for companies that would like to get into sports or want to manage sports. So not just, I would say, companies like the NBA, which are sports companies in themselves, but local companies that would want to partner with sporting federations or leagues that are happening. So basketball is what I love.
Yes.
And I guess that's what I'm known for. But my background is in marketing, and I offer marketing solutions in sports business.
Now, talking about sports businesses, I know there's a lot that we can talk about here. We can spend the entire hour, talking about this. But I want to bring it, from the women in sports, perspective. How has it been taken in this country?
Yeah. Like everywhere else, I guess, women have to assert themselves. And I guess that's just the way culture has brought us. But I look at it from a perspective where it doesn't matter what you are. You're a man, you're a woman, you have been given opportunities. Sometimes women do not have equal opportunities, but you go out there and you pick what you can, and you prove yourself, and you get the opportunities, and they keep coming. So for women, I would like to reach out to women and say that it's possible. It might be a little bit more difficult, but this is something that I always tell everyone, that the only people who do not have challenges have been buried. They're already dead. So we all have different challenges. As a man, you have a different challenge. As a woman, have a different challenge. But women, it is possible. Sports is just like everything else. It is like business. It is like, family. It's like every aspect of life, that there's a challenge and there's possibilities for women to get into it.
Of course, we'll be getting back to you talking about, how the journey has been to you getting listed among the top 40 under 40 sports leaders in the world. But I would like us to right now move to Karen Country Golf Club, where we have Rotuno Kwenyike on standby, and we are talking about the Karen Masters that comes to an end this afternoon. Rotuno, if you can hear me, if you can bring us up to speed, who is leading on the leaderboard? Is it the same person from yesterday, or we have changes from this morning when we had a number of top golfers take part in that? Of course, we'll be getting back to Rotuno Kwenyike, who is at the Karen Country Golf Club in Nairobi, where the Karen Masters is taking place. We'll be getting back to her. We want to know how the tournament is going on. Remember, the tournament comes to an end this evening. Who will get to walk away with the top prize of $150,000? Who gets to walk away with that? But we'll be getting back to her later on in the show. But we continue with the conversation that we are having right here in studio with Cynthia Mumbo, who is the founder and CEO of Sports Connect Africa. And we are talking about women in sports. And now let's talk about you particularly. As the CEO and founder of Sports Connect Africa, what are some of the major challenges that you faced?
As an entrepreneur, money. It's always about having the right resources to be able to push your business forward, and that has been a big challenge. Also, just having the right kind of people who understand what sports business is. So one of the things that we are planning on having pretty soon is a sports marketing masterclass together with one of the top marketing organizations globally. We realize that we do not have an understanding of sports marketing. So those resources are pretty much the biggest problem. And also just going out there and having to explain, okay, so this is what I do. Every other time I go, people assume I'm a coach. So, oh, you run a sports company. Are you a coach? I'm like, no, but I create opportunities for coaches to do what they do. Are you a trainer? I'm like, no, I am a sports administrator, I'm a sports manager. I create opportunities around sport. And that's one of the biggest challenges. I think, from an African perspective, sports for a long time has been considered a social aspect and not necessarily a business or a commercial aspect. And I want to be able to get people to understand that sports is business. There's money in sport. When you look at Arsenal, when you look at Manchester, when you look at all those big clubs and teams, and like the CEOs that I've been named with, all of them talk of sports from a commercial perspective. And my hope is that I can be able to move Africa towards that direction. So we start speaking about sports from a money perspective, and we can be able to change lives along through sports.
What is it that people don't understand about sports marketing in Kenya? I mean, we've seen a number of clubs, complaining we don't get sponsors. Is it the way people package themselves? Is it the way clubs or certain, sports fields in the country package themselves?
Yeah, so, you bring it up pretty right. Now, the thing about sports is I'm going to explain that we have what we call the sports triangle. And right at the top of the triangle is, the sport itself. So you have your federations. If it's not working, if it's not well organized, beyond the packaging, if there's no structure, no strategy, no vision, then it's very difficult for you to be able to convince people to work with you. So I'll say, and this is just hypothetical, let me give an example of, say, basketball. So if basketball, we don't have a brand that we recognize, the players are not connected. Now, getting back to that triangle, right in the middle of the triangle, you have your fans and you have your athletes. These are the most critical stakeholders in sports, not the administrators, not anybody else. If you don't have your players, your fans will have nothing to watch. But if your game is not organized or consistent, then people will not have time to come and experience what it is that you're doing. Now, if you're organized, Say like the English Premier League. What happens? You have media coming on board. Like you're speaking about my story, so now people know about me.
Yes.
You know? So if you have media organized, then what happens is naturally there are eyes on the game. So your athletes are happy, there's more media. When there's more media, the sponsors and partners want to be involved. And so that's one of the things that we don't understand. As sports, we have to package ourselves, we have to get organized, we have to have some sort of consistency so that we can be able to complete that triangle and we can be able to attract partners consistently. Sponsors will look for consistency. They will look for stuff that looks good, they will look for numbers. At the end of the day, they're in business. They're not in the business of helping.
Yes.
They're in the business of making money. And so you will find Chevrolet on Manchester United because if you look at the numbers, let's talk about Ronaldo. Ronaldo moved to Juventus the other day.
Yes. First day, shot
sold out, $60 million.
Yes.
Sold out. Why is that? Because there are 1 billion, 2 billion people looking at that guy. He wears that shirt. Jeep, yes, Jeep is on the shirt. Jeep is smiling to the bank today because, you know what, they have gotten the visibility that they require and people know about their brand more than they would have if he was not on that. And it would have cost them more for them to be able to reach those number of eyes.
It's true.
And so that's the value that we're talking about from a sports perspective.
Of course, we'll be talking about sports marketing and women in sports. Of course, we are talking to the CEO and founder of Sports Connect Africa, that is Cynthia Mumbo. We want to take a short break. When we come back, of course, we'll be talking about her love for basketball and where she sees basketball in this country moving to in the future. We are taking a short commercial break, and also when we come back, of course, Sunday, we do have your top 5 moments of the week and the top trends of the week.